Okay, let's get going. So welcome everyone. This is the June 2015 member meeting. This meeting is live streamed for those who are watching right now. It's also going to be recorded to YouTube, so you can catch it from our website. It's eclipse.org/membership/meeting. For those who want to ask questions, you can ask questions in a couple of different ways. You can email me, Andrew Ross, at andrew.ross@eclipse.org. You can post them on Twitter if you feel so inclined. Just use the Eclipse hashtag EclipseMM, so I can see them and basically relay them to the speakers. And if you have some other way to get a hold of me, either by instant messaging or if you want to call me, I don't care. Whatever way you get the question to me, I'll be happy to relay it. I've got to do this way, page up, page down. Okay, so once again, I'm Andrew Ross. I'm going to hand it over to Mike Milinkovich, the Executive Director of the Eclipse Foundation.
All right. A big keyboard switch. I'll just use this. Should be fine. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us, or later on if you are watching the recorded one. So this is just to give everybody a quick update of some things that are happening at and around the Eclipse Foundation and the Eclipse community. So let's dive in here. So that's me. This is Mike Milinkovich. And so first thing is a bit of good news on the staffing front. We just in the last 3 weeks, we've had 3 new people join the staff at the Eclipse Foundation. So welcome to Paul White, who's our new Vice President of Member Services. And Paul is going to be initially focusing on helping us do more with our conferences and help free up some time from folks like Ralph Mueller and Andrew Ross, Ian Scarrett, Gail Blondell, from doing the work that they were on managing conferences, and over time expanding into additional areas as well. We have another hire on the IP staff, so we're now up to 4 people on the IP team. So welcome to Sharon McDonald, our new IP analyst, working for Janet Campbell. And then on the webmaster team and the web design team, we have Eric Poirier, who just joined as a web developer. So welcome, Eric. So obviously we're pretty pleased to get the extra help around here, and hopefully everyone will hit the ground running. So on the membership front, things are going quite well. We're up to 236 members, 12 strategic members. I announced at the members meeting that was the face-to-face meeting at EclipseCon in North America back in March that Red Hat increased their membership level to a strategic member from Solutions, and CEA List also joined as a strategic member as well. And we're also now over 1,200 committers representing 67 different organizations. So we've seen some very significant growth there. So we're quite happy about that as well. So just to sort of put this into perspective, we are up to 236, and you can see that sort of historical trend line. So that's setting a new high watermark for membership in the Eclipse Foundation. Some new members since March 2014. Red Hat I already mentioned. Azul Systems, who will be talking later, introducing themselves as a new member. Develop AS, Flex Alert, Itema, Essentia, Queen's University, Technalia upgraded from Associate, and VeriSign, who I'm sure you've heard of, has also joined. VeriSign will be leading a new project in the IoT space, which is quite interesting as well. So a quick financial update. So we have completed our audit, and our 2014 actuals are now finalized. So we were originally expecting $4.3 million in revenue, $4.9 million in expense in 2014, which would have resulted in a $600K loss. But instead, we managed to do better on the expense control, so we came in at a $400K loss. On the 2015 budget that was approved by the board back in December, sort of a similar set of numbers, $4.4 million in revenue with a $4.8 million expense line, and that is going to result in a $400K loss. We are, as of this moment, expecting to do a little bit better than that, partially because of Red Hat joining as a strategic member, and also doing quite well on the new member recruitment. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Ian, and he can give us an update on the IoT working group. Thanks, Ian.
Great. Thank you, Mike. So just a brief update on the IoT working group. We've been really focused on new members and new projects. So we're very happy to have Azul join us. I believe they're talking later on in the members meeting in what their offering is in the IoT. As Mike indicated, VeriSign is joining the working group and going to start a project at Eclipse around IoT security. And Red Hat has also joined the IoT working group. So we're up to 24 members in total. So we're very pleased with the progress around IoT growth there. In terms of outreach, so between Benjamin Cave, myself, and Mike Milinkovich, we're doing a lot of speaking at conferences and just kind of out there talking to people about all the good things that we're doing at Eclipse. And that's been going really well in terms of exposure and expanding our community. We're also doing press work and kind of raising the profile of some of the projects within the IoT community. And so we did a press release around the OMTM project, which is an implementation of 1MTM. And 1MTM is an emerging standard from the global telco standards bodies. And so it has potential to be very influential in the telco industry, and so we wanted to make sure we got some good exposure around having an open source implementation of that standard. And finally, we're doing a lot of kind of online activity to really create a community of developers around IoT. So we have bi-weekly webinars through our virtual IoT meetup, where we just go through some different topics around IoT and encourage interaction and education for that. And that's been going quite well. We're a big believer in kind of tracking the progress of each project in terms of stats. And so each month we publish on the IoT working group list kind of what's the activity level in terms of bugs, code commits and authors, and messages posted on their news groups. And so some of the projects are certainly more active than others. Some go in spikes. I think if you look at things like Mosquito, it's a very active community, and Leshan is definitely coming on in terms of being very active, and Aho. So there's some good stuff going on in the projects. And this list of projects continues to get longer, so it's good to see in terms of momentum. This is just a kind of a year-over-year look at that, and again, we're looking at trends and looking at the ongoing momentum of the projects. We also look at just visits to the website, and this is definitely going in the right direction for IE up. We always seem to have kind of these spikes, but kind of the overall trend is going up, and that's kind of the industry as a whole is got a lot more interest in it, and our community is definitely gaining a good portion of that interest. And my feeling is that we are becoming known as the IoT open source community. When I go out and talk to people at IoT events, there's a lot of awareness of what we're doing. There's certainly could be more, but we're certainly going in the right direction. Just download counts too is definitely going in the right direction. And we host some servers, some sandbox servers, and so we're starting to try and track that. We're still kind of, this is a work in progress in terms of collecting the metrics, but what we want to do is just kind of keep track of what's happening and be able to report back to the community kind of the momentum that we're seeing. I think that's it. So I guess we'll pass it over to Andrew to kind of go through the location tech working group.
Okay. Thanks very much, Ian. So hey everybody, it's Andrew Ross again. Just want to tell you about the location tech working group, and followed by that will be the science working group. So we've got a bunch of really cool new members joined location tech in the last few months. So Ordnance Survey, which is the UK's national mapping agency. Mapbox, which makes a really great custom map service, quite well known. And Planet Labs, which is doing some really cool work with microsatellites and mapping the planet every day. So it's great to have those guys participating. And In terms of projects, there's a couple of really interesting ones. So first I'll talk about GeoWave. So GeoWave is, actually, let me step back. Location Tech has been fortunate to attract a lot of really significant big geodata projects like GeoMesa, GeoGenie, GeoTrellis. And so GeoWave fits very closely with that. It's another big data technology building spatial data types and indexing on top of things like Cumulo and Spark and Hadoop and so forth. So it's nice to have them aboard. They're a project that was founded by NGA and Radium Blue, so welcome, guys. The SF Curve project is a really cool one, actually. It's the first project that's sort of been born out of existing projects at Location Tech. So GeoTrellis, GeoMesa, GeoWave, and others have gotten together and created a space filling curve library. So that's the SF Curve project. So similar to what Ian talked about with IoT, there's some really great growth in terms of web traffic and people participating on the mailing list, these kinds of things. What also is really exciting is adoptions, so significant adoptions. And so there's two that I wanted to call out. The first one is that the GeoMesa project, the GeoMesa technology, has been adopted by the Google Big Table Cloud Service. So it's really neat to see that. Both a great proof point and testimonial in terms of the quality of the GeoMesa technologies and features, but also a great business opportunity for CCRI, which is the member company that's been investing heavily in GeoMesa. Also, mobile map technology. So this is a library for building mobile smartphone applications on Android and iOS. So they've been working for quite some time with a company called, really cool startup called Glass Arrow. So Glass Arrow actually recently won significant funding from Horizon 2020, sort of an EU initiative for funding our research and development. It's very competitive and very hard to get that, so it's great to see those guys do that, and hope to see some good things for both them and also the mobile map technology project. I'm going to talk in a second more about the tour. So this is just a note for me to remember that the tour in FedGeo Day, which is a one-day conference in Washington, D.C., is coming up. As well, the wheels are starting to spin on FOSS4G North America 2016. So for many of you will remember that we participated in organizing and speaking at a really cool conference in Burlingame in March. So FOSS4G North America 2016 will be the next iteration of that. So more on that soon. So the tour, just for those who have been following along, we started this idea in 2013 to get a bunch of people participating in sort of mini conferences in a bunch of different cities. It was very successful and a lot of fun. It grew in 2014, and even more cities and even more people. And so 2015, it looks poised to continue to grow, so it's already at more cities and likely to be more people than we had in the past 2 years. It's just a really great way to engage the community and meet people who are doing similar work. So for those who are interested, please go to tour.locationtech.org. We'd love to have you either speak or participate or come to some of these events. One more thing, so we just held elections for Location Tech, and congratulations to Robert Cheatham and Jody Garnett, who were re-elected. The elections were actually quite tight, so I do want to thank Rob Emanuel and Jim Hughes and Jamie Conklin for running the election. We hope they'll run again because it was very, very tight. But it's great to have Robert and Jody back. We've really appreciated their efforts over the last couple of years for Location Tech. The steering committee basically is an invaluable source of guidance and direction for the working group, so we appreciate their efforts. So now the Science Working Group, another really cool and fast-growing working group at the Eclipse Foundation. So we actually have 3 new members this past couple months. So IDEMA, Isensia, and Airbus have joined, which is nice to have them on board. Some of them, so for instance, IDEMA and Torkild have been working with us for quite some time, so it's just nice to see him come back with another mandate for another organization. There's one new project. You're actually going to hear about it today. So Jay Billings, one of our guest speakers, is going to be talking a bit about it, so I won't say anything now. As well, we've actually had some really useful and exciting Science Day content. So both at EclipseCon North America in March and EclipseCon France coming up in a couple of weeks, there's science talks and science project talks at these conferences. So if you are going to those, I encourage you to go check them out. And the other thing actually was quite neat. This came out of EclipseCon North America, was basically cross-working group collaboration between the science, IoT, and Location Tech working groups. So there's a great need for visualization technologies. In some cases, the simulation technologies that are finding a good home within the science working group are quite interesting to location tech and IoT as well. And so we're starting to see some projects that are likely going to transcend different working groups and get contributors from each of those groups helping to thrive and add features and capabilities to them. So it's great to see the science working group grow as it is.
All right, I'll take over.
Pass it back to Mike, who's going to talk about the auto working group.
Yeah, so the Automotive Working Group has been around for a number of years. They're probably the biggest activity at the moment is related to the Amaltea for Public program, which has come on board. And this is a EU-funded research program for doing tools for multiprocessor development. Is the actual development work is happening as a project at Eclipse, and it's a work package under the working group. So that's what's going on at Automotive. Long-term support, working towards increasing the listings on the LTS. There's a new version of the charter that's being published that will include a trial membership up to 12 months. And there's been an update to the website that allows people to do service requests. So if somebody wants to do a request for long-term support or maintenance for an Eclipse project, there is now a way for them to kick off an inquiry through the LTS website. There is going to be a presentation on LTS at EclipseCon France, and hope to see everybody there. OpenMDM. MDM stands for Measured Data Management, and this is the kind of data that you do when you're measuring the performance of automobiles and all the different ECUs that are in a modern automobile. So the website is almost ready to go live. There's a steady stream of very detailed and public conversations about the architecture for the projects. Which the project, by the way, is at the moment the one project at the moment is MDM at Web. So if you want to take a look at what they're doing there, you can find that. And so lots of interesting stuff going on there. PolarSys is our community that's targeted on tools for systems engineering, with a particular focus on long-term support and functional safety of system engineering systems. So you can see lots of Airbus logos on there, as well as CEA List, Ericsson, and Thales on the steering committee. The highlight more recently is Technalia joined PolarSys, a research organization from Spain. Queen's University here in Canada also just joined as well as a guest academic member, and we're going to be planning a modeling event at Queen's in early October. Had the first PolarSys webinar and working on new data sheets for talking about PolarSys solutions. Upcoming activities, I think one of the big ones is going to be coming up in July, where there's going to be a PolarSys booth and a PolarSys presence at the INCOSI Symposium in Seattle, Washington, which is a big conference that's focused on systems engineering. And of course, there's going to be a strong presence at EclipseCon France as well. So register now for EclipseCon France. And by the way, there's still sponsorship opportunities available there as well. So Toulouse is a very lovely city. It's a great place to visit. And there's going to be a lot of great content and great opportunity for meeting and networking with Eclipse aficionados while you're there. It is going to be a busy week. We have a 2-day unconference that's happening at the beginning of the week. There's going to be hackathons and hands-on workshops, demos, as well as the more formal conference agenda. So please plan on being in Toulouse on June 24th and 25th. It's going to be another great event. EclipseCon, why attend EclipseCon France? Well, for the great program and to network and learn. And yeah, so now it's time for doing our new member introduction, and I'll hand it back over to Andrew.
Thank you, Mike. So I'm going to hand it over to Kevin Lee from Azul Systems. So Kevin, if you're ready, take it away, and I think our audio should switch automatically.
Yep, great. Thank you. Just 1 second, let me just get the slides up.
Once again, for anyone who has questions, there's a couple of different ways you can pose them. So feel free to post on Twitter with the Eclipse NM hashtag. Feel free to email me at andrew.ross@eclipse.org. If you have any other way to get a hold of me through various instant messaging or whatnot, feel free to do that, and I'll relay the question to the speakers.
Okay, hello everyone. This is Kevin Lee with Azul Systems. Can everyone hear me okay?
I don't see your screen at the moment.
You cannot see my screen?
Yeah, want to try again?
Okay, just 1 second. How about now?
There we go. Now I see it looks great.
Great. Thank you. Sorry about that. Yeah, so thank you for having us here, and we're excited to be part of the foundation. I'm Kevin Lee. I'm with Azul Systems, responsible for marketing and product management. Wanted to share what Azul System is about, and wanted to introduce our Zulu product line. So Azul System, we're based in California, in Sunnyvale. We have been in the industry over about 12 years, and our sole mission is Java. So we've been working on Java for last more than 12 years, and what we offer is really 100% open source Java. So we have a membership with the GCP Executive Committee, and all our project is based on OpenJDK. We build our Java from OpenJDK build scripts, and we sustain and build all the QA system, drive our release cycle based on what OpenJDK is doing. So Zulu, as you see over on the screen, is our main product line. It's a Duke with a Zulu uniform here. What we have is the binary build, reflecting the latest OpenJDK. Again, 100% open source. It's complying with the TCK, as we are the licensee of the TCK for Java 6, 7, and 8. We have a drop-in placement that's just as good as, or even better than what we have compared to Oracle. And we have a very excellent support timeline for those customers that are trying to use OpenJDK for commercial purposes. And the platforms we support pretty much most of the flavors out there, including all the different flavors of Linux, as well as Windows, desktop, Mac OS, and some of the hypervisors, as well as deployments up in the cloud. We are supporting deployment on Microsoft Azure, Docker, Amazon, as well as AWS, and of course JDK 6, 7, and 8, and mainly focused on x86 platform. And we also provide some additional toolkits. We also provide the what we call commercial compatibility kit, supports the some of the fonts and crypto extension. And for the Azure cloud offering, we also have the plugins for the Eclipse. And also wanted to mention a couple of open source tools that we also provide. What we have is JHiccup. It's basically the performance monitoring tool that measures the latency on the VM. And we also just are releasing what we call JRT. This is what we used to be what we call the IO hiccup, which kind of measures the JVM responses to inbound network requests on the JVM itself. So along with JHiccup and JRT, you can actually use this open source tool to really measure how your JVM is doing. So one of the big news is we'll be coming out with Zulu.org. This is a dedicated community website for Zulu. You'll find lots of information here. It will be go live in a couple of weeks, where you could download and share information and we'll have a forum where we could have a developers exchanging some ideas and getting helps and so on. And in terms of the IoT, as you heard from the folks earlier, that Azul is also joining, have joined, I should say. Oops, the slide's kind of going nuts here. We have joined the IoT working group. So our sister open source product, Zulu Embedded, is really meant for the IoT and M2M. It is based on the same open source Zulu. The thing about this Zulu Embedded is it is a customizable VM, and that you could actually tailor for specific embedded IoT use cases, where we could provide a headful, headless, or even compact profiles based on Java 8. Right now it's supporting x86 platform, 32 or 64. We're looking at considering other platforms as well, with different combination of operating systems and packaging and so on. And you'll see a lot more of this coming out within the upcoming several weeks. And we would love to share some additional information on what we're going to do on this one. And just to wrap it up here, for any additional information, you'll find lots of it on our azul.com/Zulu. And also mentioned earlier, we'll be coming out with Zulu.org, where we'll have a dedicated community website for the Zulu product line. I apologize for the slight misbehavior here. It's going. For some reason, it's not cooperating with me this morning.
Thank you very much, Kevin.
Okay.
I really appreciate you coming and speaking. So our next speaker is going to be Jay Billings, who's a research scientist at Oak Ridge National Laboratory. So Jay, if you're ready, please take it away.
I am ready. Thank you. Can everyone see the slides?
Yeah, looking good.
Okay. So I'm going to tell you today about our unnamed 3D visualization project, and it's actually not named Triquetrum. We have two new projects in the science working group, and there's this Viz project, and then there's Triquetrum, which is our workflow project, and maybe we can tell you guys about that another time. As I said, for this visualization project, we don't have a name for it yet, so unofficially we'll call it Project Andrew. And
thank you. Appreciate that.
And let me tell you about the scope of this. This project came out of some discussions that we've been having for months now, and we kind of got to came to a head on those discussions at EclipseCon North America, and we kind of came up with this scope that covered all of these things here on the slide, and they really satisfy the needs of people in science, in the science working group. But during a joint discussion of science, IoT, and location tech, we learned that they might be of interest to location tech and IoT as well. So what we've settled on for the scope is 1 and 2D plotting, and a lot of us in science use SWT XY graph from Nebula, but we have a lot of our own extensions, and we also we have other features that we kind of need to get into Nebula, like or into SWT XY graph, like compression and things like that. So there's some 1 and 2D plotting we need to do. For advanced 2D and 3D visualization, we do a lot of that, and we all kind of have our own thing. We want to bring those together so that we can use each other's stuff. Time series visualization goes right hand in hand with that, and at least in what we do with Eclipse ICE, everything is time series. We look at the time evolution of all sorts of stuff. We need constructive modeling tools so that when you're talking about creating something that you're going to simulate, you need to create a virtual model of that, and you need to put that together constructively, kind of like SolidWorks does or some other tools. And so we have some of those in the science working group, and we need to get those into the Viz project and out to other people as well. And then there are domain-specific visualizations. So sometimes a general-purpose tool just can't give you what you want. And we do have domain-specific visualizations for a lot of things in the science working group, and we're going to put those out there as well. One bullet that I added to this that we just started talking about on the list is imaging, and we're still trying to figure out the exact scope for imaging. And we'll have good information on that in the future, but for now I just wanted to say we are considering it.
Okay, thanks, Jay. Switch back here. All right, our final speaker is my colleague Wayne B. So Wayne, if you're ready.
Excellent. I always enjoy being the one that's between you and lunch. Anyway, I'm here to talk. I'm going to talk a little bit about projects. As is common this time of year, projects is primarily about the simultaneous release, and no exception, of course, this year. SWT bought RCP testing tools. Some testing tools are joining us this year. We actually have a net new 3 projects. We wound up dropping a couple of projects. I'll talk about those in a second. But we do have a list of, I was going to say impressive. I think impressive is the right word. Impressive list of 7 new projects joining the simultaneous release and a continued growth of participation. I haven't yet computed the lines of code, but I'm going to assume that the code has increased. Certainly there's a lot of new functionality. I'll talk a little bit about that as we move forward. The added list here on this slide is exactly what was on the previous slide. What has dropped this year, Mylan Intent, they decided to just not participate. Model focusing tools, these are actually 2 modeling, or sort of 2 Mylan projects. If I remember correctly, model focusing tools actually merged in with the parent project. Connecty has split most of the interesting functions. Some of the functionality of Connecty has moved to the Lua Development Tools project, LDT. Connecty itself is on the list of projects that will soon be retired. And PAHO couldn't make their development schedule wound up falling out of alignment with the simultaneous release, and they opted to remove themselves. In terms of, actually, before I go on, in terms of functionality, we're really focusing this year on the Java IDE. It's kind of our big deal and sort of all things related to Java. So you've probably seen some of my screenshots of the week and probably have noticed that they're mostly Java, although there's a lot of other interesting fun features. I don't actually have any slides for these I included in this presentation, but I thought I would talk about them briefly anyway. Some of the things that we're going to be highlighting, tools for Docker, which are included in the Linux tools project. I've actually recently started playing with them, but they're pretty interesting tools that just allow us to manipulate Docker containers directly from the Eclipse environment. Some minor, relatively minor, I guess, changes from a user perspective. The nested hierarchical view of projects. If you use the Project Explorer, you can show a hierarchy now of nested projects. There was a lot of work went into an update to the code formatter. The UI for that actually doesn't surface too much different in terms of the UI, but the results of formatting Java code now are superior.
Sorry, wait 1 second here.
Uh-oh.
Somebody let me know that you're not seeing your screen, so
Pardon
me. Let's go.
Well, what I'm talking about now isn't actually on the screen anyway, so maybe I will. I'll keep going. We're also pretty keen on some new installer technology that's been developed. That will be available on the downloads page. We're encouraging people to look at it. The packages that we have traditionally shipped as part of the simultaneous release will still be included and still be available for downloads. This new installer technology, though, is something, like I said, we're pretty cool. We think is pretty cool. There's a simple mode that I guess most people would. It operates in a way that most people would expect. It installs Eclipse in the location you select. There's functionality to add desktop icons. The advanced mode is pretty cool too. There's the ability to populate your workspace with Git repos and tasks from Mylan. Set up targets for PDE. That makes contributing to projects that have provided configurations very straightforward. I was able to make an actual contribution to the Eclipse platform runtime project. I was ready in about 15 minutes. My environment was set up and ready to go. It's pretty exciting stuff. The tools for Cordova being produced by the, I'm going to say, Time Project. Yeah, that's new with this. Time is going to be graduating with Mars and producing those tools for mobile development. I haven't had a chance to look at them yet, but certainly on my list of things that I would like to play with a little bit. Maven support is improved in the form of an improved POM editor, some auto update and auto builds, support for Maven 3.3.3. Not strictly part of Mars, but we're excited about it nonetheless. The Build Ship project will be releasing along with Mars to provide Gradle tools. And of course, I think it's hard to describe this as anything but an unqualified success. The new automated error reporting tools have been providing a stream of opportunities for improvement to all of our projects. I strongly encourage anybody using Mars, if Eclipse pops up a dialog saying actually a message box will appear in the bottom right corner of your window. If that dialog does pop up saying, hey, please report this error, if you could please do that, that would be awesome. It helps us make Eclipse better. And some other general improvements, dark theme improvements. The dark theme looks a lot better in this release. Some general improvements to Java 8 and other things. The great fixes, skills competition. Actually, a lot of what I just described previously, certainly some significant aspects of it were produced, provided by great fixes from contributors. We had a total of 31 contributors submitting a total of 104 different fixes. 182 people involved in the discussion, so these are people participating in the discussion around the bugs associated with great fixes. We managed to provide the winners with some tablets provided by Google, for which we're grateful. I actually still have a tablet that I need to sort out which committer provided the greatest reviewing services, and we're going to pass that tablet on to them. I apologize in advance to that committer because I just have been bogged down with other things. You'll get it, I promise, soon, before, of course, it is out of date. Just for completeness, a list of the great fix winners. Again, my gratitude to these people for the contributions that they made. In many cases, the contributions were many and significant. So some of these people contributed literally 20 different fixes. Probably trying to stack the deck, but hey, it worked. And we got lots of great fixes out of it.
And actually at least one new committer, right?
And at least one new committer.
Yeah, Andrei Loskotov was one of them. So
one of them, yeah, added to the platform project.
Yeah.
Incidentally, the platform project is now, I believe, if not the one of the most diverse projects that we have in terms of committers coming from different companies and organizations and parts of the world. In 2015, looking forward, I am looking in third quarter to start a new revision of the Eclipse development process. Hopefully targeting, it'll probably be early 2016. We'll have that out. As has been the tradition over the last few years, this will be primarily concerned with simplification, making it easier for contributors and easier for committers. I do intend to start launching committer orientation boot camps, a little lighter weight version of what we've been delivering at EclipseCon, something that we can deliver through the Hangouts. The project management interface, this is the tool that committers can use to provide information about their projects, to disseminate what's going on to the world in a consistent way. We've continued to make look and feel improvements. We're going to, as we work to phase out the old developer portal, we'll be moving committer elections there. Actually, some of you have noticed that project lead elections have been there. We kind of rolled that out quietly to see, just so to kind of have a slow trickle of them happening so we can make sure that the functionality was working as expected, and I'm actually pretty happy with how that's working. Next quarter, I'm really going to push hard. We have some new IP log management tools that allow for submission via IPzilla, which should make managing IP submissions and reviews a lot easier for everybody, especially the IP team. But I think One of the things that this will allow you as a committer to check up on your IP log processing and get a better understanding of what the status is. Just a reminder for the Eclipse committers and project leads that are listening, IP tracking data must always be up to date. You must have third-party libraries approved before they're included in your builds or included in your repositories. Git commits are automatically included in the log, so if you have to follow the rules. Git commits have author fields. Those author fields are the credentials of the actual person who contributed the code. As long as that is being followed, that information is always being tracked and is always up to date. Also a reminder, the library approvals are version specific. So if you're using a new version of an already approved library, you need a new approval from the IP team via a contribution questionnaire. And the IP log is considered an IP checkpoint. There's some confusion this year with some of the projects. After your IP log is approved, you are still able to accept contributions, even if those contributions would change the IP log. We don't want you to stop accepting contributions. Again, think of the IP log review as a checkpoint. So just some general reminders. Please keep your project metadata up to date. If you've created release records in advance, which I encourage, please make sure that they are up to date and review them every once in a while. Please remember that reviews are required for all major and minor releases. Service releases do not require an IP log check or a review. Clean up your downloads area. When I do IP log reviews, I do notice that a lot of these download areas are huge and contain lots of old data. Please move that to the archive server. If you're not sure how to do that, contact Webmaster. All contributions by non-committers do require a CLA. That seems to, we're not seeing too many, if any. I can't recall any current problems with that, so that's being done fairly consistently. Thank you for that. And of course, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask your project mentors, project lead, PMC, or me via emo@eclipse.org. With that, I am done. Andrew.
Yeah, so I just want to hand it back to Jay. I apologize, Jay. I didn't realize that he had a couple slides to go. I actually misinterpreted the silence as he had some videos queuing up. So, Jay, if you're still there and ready to go, I'll give it back to you.
I am. No worries. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so I think I had some YouTube videos in this presentation, and I think that killed the audio. So I only have a little bit left, but I wanted to show you some of our visualization capabilities. These are only from one project in the science working group, and we have a whole bunch of other stuff. This is what I had handy. This is from Eclipse Ice. And I'm not going to explain everything that's here, but what you can see is there's a bunch of stuff in 3D. There's a bunch of stuff that's interactive. There's a bunch of plotting. In the top left corner, you see a domain-specific view. That's actually a GEF-based view of a sodium-cooled fast reactor that we made. And then in the bottom right corner, you see that we can take these 3D things and slice them and look at different things. So I just wanted to give you a kind of a picture of what we're talking about when we're talking about bringing new visualization to Eclipse. So the next step for this, the next steps, we're currently looking for initial contributors / committers and components for the initial contribution. And right now, ORNL is going to be contributing all of the visualization packages from Eclipse Ice to this visualization project. So everything you saw on the previous slide, we want to put into this visualization project so that other people can use it without pulling in all of ICE. And I think we've lined up some contributions from Diamond Light Source, some stuff from Donsai, and Marcel Ostenfeld has some stuff from University of Kiel. And of course, we're working on the project proposal. We have not created the project proposal for this yet because we want to get the scope right. And so we're going to put all that in, and hopefully we'll have that in review soon. So that's all I have, and thank you very much, Andrew.
Great, thanks so much, Jay. And sorry, everybody, about the bobbles. So it's now question and answer time. If you've got a question, you can post it in Twitter under EclipseMM. You can email me. You can post it in the Eclipse IRC channel. I'm just going to run over to my other computer and scan for that. So
I don't see anything on the hashtag. A few people there, but I don't see any comments.
nothing in IRC. Okay, looks like there's no questions. If you do have questions after the fact, that's certainly no trouble. You can email me, you can even post them on Twitter or all the same spots, and try to answer them after the fact via email. You can also comment on the YouTube video. So when the YouTube video goes up, you can add comments and questions there. So with that, I'd like to thank our guest speakers and my colleagues here at the Eclipse Foundation, and we'll see you next time.
All right, thanks a lot.
That's it.